Welcome to the 2022 Nautilus Book Awards Author Spotlight Series. I'm your host, Christine Upchurch. Now celebrating 22 years of honoring better books for a better world, Nautilus Book Awards continues to embrace books from a wide spectrum in the publishing industry. Books which radiate hope and wisdom. Books which nurture our inner connection and inspire us to connect with others as individuals, as communities, and as planetary citizens. This is a vast conversation, one which is more crucial today than ever before. Today, we are focusing the spotlight on Silver Award winners, Matt Meyer, who's the author, and Khim as illustrator of the book, Desmond Gets Free. They've won a Silver Award in the category of Children's Illustrated Fiction. Matt Meyer has a degree in hand drumming from Berklee College of Music. He travels as a speaker and musician about community and social justice. He's worked on campaigns to preserve old-growth forests, support farm workers' rights, and stop the construction of fossil fuel pipelines. He's always looking for ways to dismantle systems of oppression and support communities grounded in justice. Illustrator Khim is a self-taught illustrator who caught the painting bug as a child while watching his uncle paint vibrant canvases in the studio. He loves taking long walks in the woods and is inspired by the colors and shapes of our natural landscape. Khim hopes to create magical worlds through painting that allow us to better connect ourselves with the world around us. Again, the book is entitled Desmond Gets Free, and I'd like to congratulate author Matt Meyer and illustrator Khim. Congratulations, you two.
Thank you so much, and so good to be with you.
Thank you, Christine. So good to be here.
It is an inspiring, adorable, and visually beautiful book. And I tell you, as an adult, it's like I would go to the store and purchase this book because it's got a wonderful message. And you don't have to have a kid, but children will love this book too. And I'm wondering, Matt, as an author, why have you chosen to write within the genre of children's literature?
You know, when I was imagining this story, I spoke with some educator friends of mine who work in classrooms and churches and other settings and asked them about children's literature and what was out there for having conversations, real conversations with young ones about justice, about community organizing and equity. And I really heard from them that there wasn't enough, that's something they were always looking for. And I think, part of my hope for this book was that it would be a way to illustrate and share a story that would be useful and educational for children and young ones, but also that it would be a tool for parents to have those conversations with their kids, to talk about what justice means or what equity means, what compassion means. And, I've heard from some parents, there's this word in here that keeps showing up in this book, neutrality. And it's been fun to hear parents talk about how their kids ask them, what's that big word mean, neutrality? And to talk about that and what that means and where it shows up in our world.
How wonderful to be bringing that message to children. Now, Khim, I follow art, and there are lots of wonderful painters out there. Most of them aren't illustrators in children's literature, and you're a fabulous painter. What inspired you to partake in this and create the illustrations for this book?
So first, I guess I should preface this by saying that I am self-taught in as much as I didn't go to art school, but I did learn how to paint with my uncle. He had an art class going when I was, growing up in Malaysia. And so I took some lessons with him. He had these big, beautiful canvases of landscapes, and he always painted very vibrant colors. And so I learned to, use a lot of colors that I, saw from his paintings in the studio. And the reason why I think it works well with the children's genre is because there are lots of really good books with, nice, captivating, colorful paintings. And maybe that's why it works well. But I'm just doing it the way I do it. And when Matt came to me with such a great story, I thought it would be easy to create a magical, wonderful, colorful world for it.
Yeah, and magical it is. In fact, Matt, would you read us a little bit of the book and show us at least a couple of the wonderful illustrations?
Sure. Desmond the mouse lived in the most beautiful meadow in all the land. Every morning, Desmond would wake with the sunrise and spend the whole day playing in that meadow. And every evening, Desmond would go to sleep right in the middle of that meadow under the beautiful starry sky. One night, though, Desmond awoke to find that it was still dark out. He tried to roll over to get more comfortable and go back to sleep, but something wasn't right. Desmond realized that his tail was stuck right to the ground and beginning to throb with pain. He felt behind him, and there was a huge boulder that seemed to have fallen in the middle of the meadow, just on his tail. Desmond pushed on the boulder, and he tugged on his tail. And he pushed on the boulder and tugged on his tail. And he pushed on the boulder and tugged and pushed and tugged and tugged and pushed, but it was no use. When he was out of breath and had just about given up, he saw a giraffe pass by in the grass. Good news, he thought. "Oh, giraffe," Desmond cried. "Could you please push the boulder just a few inches in the other direction so that I could go free?" Well, the giraffe looked at Desmond and laughed the way giraffes do. "You silly mouse," said the giraffe. "That's no boulder. That is an elephant that's fallen asleep in the middle of the meadow, just on your tail." Well, if you could just wake the elephant and ask him to roll over just a few inches in the other direction, I could go free. "Well," replied the giraffe, "you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times like this." Well, Desmond quietly replied, "I do not appreciate your neutrality." We'll leave it there.
And I won't spoil the rest of the story, but yes, I'm so glad that Desmond does get out of his predicament. So.
He does, with the
and
help
it's a
of a few
fabulous
friends.
story. So, Matt, why did you name this mouse Desmond?
Well, this whole story was inspired when I was reading a book by Desmond Tutu and was caught by this phrase that he said. He said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have already taken sides. You've taken sides with the powerful and with the oppressor." And Desmond Tutu said, if an elephant is standing on the tail of a mouse, the mouse will never appreciate your neutrality. And I was just so captivated by that image. I was traveling around to communities speaking about this idea of what it means to remain neutral when we find injustice in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in the world. And I wanted to just go deeper into that image. And so I felt like the story after that really wrote itself, just kind of picturing how that mouse might have gotten stuck and how we might have gotten free.
It's such a wonderful story. So, Khim, do you identify in any way with that little mouse, or do you identify with some of the help that eventually comes?
Sure. I think we all can identify with being Desmond at some point in our lives. And I also, I agree with Matt. It's such an important story that I think needs to be told. And it's so beautifully written. And I definitely, did, feel for Desmond. And so it was an easy one to say yes to and make some art for it.
So, Matt, where have you seen these lessons play out in your community or communities that you reach around the country?
I relate to what Khim said, that we can all identify with not just Desmond, but the different characters in this story. And, while it's easy to make fun of the giraffe that wants to remain neutral and the other animals that come along that decide not to help, I actually really relate to those characters as well, because I think when we come of age in this world and we look around and see how things work and what things look like, it can feel easy to assume that things have always been this way, or that the way things are the way they had to be. And I think what's special about the animals that eventually work together with Desmond is that they don't assume that they can imagine a different way of being, that they can imagine a meadow where Desmond isn't stuck anymore. And from there, from that imagination, they can work to make that real. I think we see that all over the place. And, when we look in history, it kind of seems inevitable that we ended up where we are. But history is shaped by the people who chose to take sides, the people who took sides for justice, the people that took sides for love and for peace and for equity. And I think we're having that conversation in lots of places. I think we're having that conversation in the United States around immigration and the laws that we have now inevitable, or is there a more compassionate way to do things? I think we're having that conversation about policing and wondering, is the system we have now the best it can be? Is the way we find it now inevitable, or is there a better way to do things with more compassion, with more justice? And so that's part of what I find about this story, is to still be challenged by that giraffe, and to think of the times that I've held that view, and to imagine ways that I might do it differently.
Matt, I think you've touched upon something that is really important for us to realize. The power that we have as individuals. It may feel like we might as well stay neutral. We might as well not get involved. What power do we as an individual have? And your story illustrates that when you have many people who feel that way come together and make the choice, that you can create change. Mm-hmm. And that's a very inspiring message.
For me, that's really been one of the lessons of this pandemic that we're all trying to survive and that we've been through together. Those of us that have made it through, is how quickly things changed, particularly in the early days, and how much of our work lives and home lives has been restructured and shifted, and how quickly that happened. As an activist, I'd always been told by my elders that change happens slowly, that you've got to be patient. And I think that lie was made visible by this pandemic. I think that lie is being made visible by climate chaos that is increasingly devastating our neighborhoods and our communities. And change does happen slowly, but it can also happen quickly when we agree to make it. And I think we're seeing that in a lot of ways these days.
Yeah. And I think that there are plenty of situations where the people feel like mice, and they feel like the elephant sitting on them is those in power. And so it is a great message. Khim, what is your hope for this book?
I wanted to say one more thing, and actually to add to what you're talking about, and how it's powerful that one person can also create this change, and all it takes is one mouse or one person to think differently, to see differently, to get people to see the world a different way. And that's also why I especially love the story. My hope for the book is that it gets out to as many people as possible, and I hope that people are inspired by the story, obviously, and also by the art. And I hope that it inspires us to live our best selves and to question and the way we're doing things, and to always strive to be compassionate, to be better.
That's a great message. Matt, what is it you hope for to come about based on this book?
My hope is that it'll be a tool for children and parents and teachers and communities to have these conversations together, to talk about where people are stuck under the systems as we find them today. And for me, part of the message of the book is that the animals that eventually come along and do make a difference do that because they listened to Desmond and listened to his experience of what it was like to be stuck, and listened to his understandings of what the problem was. And I hope that families and classrooms and communities will have that conversation about how we get unstuck together, how we listened to the marginalized among us in our communities, to learn from their experience and to address the problems that are facing us. And my greatest hope is that this book would just be some small tool to be of use for that.
And a wonderful book it is. Congratulations, Matt. Congratulations, Khim, on your Silver Award. It's well-deserved. And the book is entitled Desmond Gets Free. Congratulations, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.